Hello, Secretaries. So today we're going to be talking about Milwaukee. So this was the final puzzle that I've actually worked on to the point where I can say to my at least to myself that okay, I know what this one is and I know what we were supposed to do. And this one's very cleverly done. And I'm just going to get into it and talk about it here. So, in all of these puzzles, I believe we are to discover a historic role and in some way play that role out in a playful way to get to the treasure. And I think that's why this one causes a lot of problems because in this one, you really kind of do have to need to know who you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to do to get the jewel here. So let's go through it real quick. So um, every one of these verses is going to have a story in it. Now it may be some of the lines, it may be all of the lines, but there will be a story in there. And the verses vary, as I've said in previous videos, as to what makes that story. It just depends on what he uses in there, and you have to figure out what's kind of in a lack of a better, what's real and imagined, really. So, but in this one, you are Christopher Columbus, believe it or not. And I'm going to show you how that works here. So the key is to know basic, like fourth, fifth grade history to get to these stories too. All of them are like that except for like one or two. I would say if you're in the fifth, sixth grade, you've been exposed to some of these stories, and I think that's the point. But they're just basic history, is what I'm getting at. But this one is going to be Christopher Columbus, right? So if we look at the lines and he mixes them up, like they're not going to be in order. They're going to be mixed up, but the story's there. You just have to figure it out. But you can take certain lines like at a distance in time, at a distance in space is a voyage. From three who live there is going to be the three ships that left Spain. Um, from Woman with Harpsichord, we'll come back to that. Step on Nature, Cast in Copper. Now that one's interesting because the somebody got to interview Byron back in the day, and he said, "Imagine a leaf." And Leif Erikson was a lot like Columbus. But the reason he says step on nature cast in copper is because when he arrived in Hispaniola, he noticed that the natives are wearing a lot of copper. There's like copper everywhere. And I think he's just referring to that. Ascend the 92 steps is going to be in reference to the 1492 landing. Um, and so that might not be actual steps. Like it may not be 92 of them. He's just saying start the 1492 voyage. After climbing the Grand 200, that's probably something directional, but I'm not positive on that. Past the compass and reach, that's, navigational compass, reach land. I don't know what he's doing there. The foot of the culvert, right? So I think what he's doing there when he says pass the compass and reach the foot of the culvert is he's talking about Christopher still trying to get to, when I read it like that, it's like him still trying to get to the Western Passage. So as kids, everybody knew that he landed in San Salvador in 1492, and um, that's how it kind of started, right? But he actually did four voyages, and that could be part of the circle over here is him just going in circles, going back and forth. But but we'll get to more of that image in a second. But yeah, he did four voyages, and on the last one, the southeast over rock and soil to the first young birch, past three staying west. All of that is him landing in Honduras. So when he landed in Honduras, he wrote in his letters, he wrote that he could see like birch trees and stuff like that. And the reason you're going southeast is because you're trying to go west, if that makes any sense. He was doing his dangest to stay west because he was trying to get around that huge landmass. But he ended up passing Honduras, Nicaragua, and Costa Rica and ended up in Panama before he turned around and said, okay, I give up or whatever. But that's what Byron is saying there by saying southeast over rock and soil. He's actually going down that beach in a southeast trying to go west. And he's passing those three countries. You'll see a letter from the country. I'm sure that's actual his letter that he wrote to Spain, Ferdinand and Isabella the First of Castile. So now at the image over here, I think this image is Isabella of Castile. And the reason I say that is because she's got like a bell in her hand, and then he made the Milwaukee. I forgot the name of that bell, whatever it is. It kind of looks like a castle in the background too, right? And I think this is Isabella of Castile. The little lion shape in the shadow that you can kind of like. I never saw it in her face, but I could argue I can see the outline of a lion like right there, like that being the nose and then the eye right there. But if that's just it could be part of her story with being the queen of Leon, so like Leo the lion. I don't know, but that's my guess. But and then there's another couple of interesting things here. A lot of people notice like the tail of a whale, right? Well, for a long, long time in Milwaukee, they had a ship called the something Clipper, right? And it was a famous ship, and I think it was like a ferry, and it was like the last of the whalebacks. And I think that's what this is in reference to, is just more of a Milwaukee thing, being a whaleback ship. And Columbus's ships were considered like the way the bottoms of them was like kind of like a whaleback, and I just thought that was real interesting. So now that we can look at that and go, okay, there's enough clues in there that tells us that we're supposed to be Columbus and play out Columbus. Now, where would we do that in Milwaukee? Well, you could do that at Lake Park, right? I mean, that's where a lot of people think it is. The the way that you would have to look at it though is like, okay, you would, if you're going to navigate ships, then you would kind of go to where you navigate ships. You go to a lighthouse. A lighthouse helps navigate ships. That's a very Byron thing Byron would do. But the problem I have with that theory is it's so long. And in Houston, he, from what I could tell, and keep in mind, all this is just my opinion, but he sends us to the moon and back with it without ever getting off a bench. So as hard as that is to believe, but I think that's what he did. So the area that you're going to do this playful stuff in is not going to be very big. And from what I could tell, that park is a pretty good size. And if you're walking down like Marietta Street and Kenwood and all that stuff, that's a pretty good distance. And I just don't think he did that, right? But it could be. I'm not saying it's not. I mean, I'm just saying like if you're gonna play out Christopher and you're gonna do it there, then you need to try to find that Western Passage and then just fall short of it. And and that's how you're gonna find the casque or whatever. But the tale simply told in this one is the story of Columbus and Isabella the First of Castile. And excuse me, I'm getting over a cold, so I kind of clear my throat a lot. But so where I think it probably more than likely is going to be actually closer to without. I'm not going to show you anything or anything, But I think if I had to guess, it's going to be closer to the Historical Society building. And there's a couple of reasons for that. So he takes like From Woman with harpsichord and then he separates the two. So there's a woman there somewhere and then there's a harpsichord. And I think the harpsichord is like the building itself, just the shape of it. And then the From Woman is just some, I don't know where, there's going to be like a lady out there somewhere in a statue. I don't know. I haven't researched this too much, but this is just where I think this is. I'm going to get to the reason why I think it's there here in a second. And also, I think he's trying to tell us like if we took From Woman with harpsichord and replaced harpsichord with say instrument, then it could be from Three Who Lived There at a Distance in Space, From Woman with Instrument, right? So he could kind of still be telling the story, that being Isabel. Did he do that? I don't know for sure. That could just be something that is directional from the solve itself. But the reason I think it's going to be close to um, that building, I think that building in his mind, he's playing it like that's Spain, and you're just going to go in a circle and come right back, doing all these instructions, being Columbus. But all that being said, the reason I think it's there is because that uh, little historical society actually has one of the original, I think it's one of the original copies of Columbus's letter of New World discovery. And that's kind of a big deal. When he got back to Spain, he wrote a letter of all his discovery. Well, he wrote it on a ship, but then when he got there, he sent them off to be delivered, and then there were like 14 copies made. So I don't know if they even know which one's the actual original or not, but they did that. So there was like 15 copies of that thing uh, when they originally did it, and I think one of them is actually there, or there was in a long time ago. I have seen things on Google about them having that there, and it sure looked old. So I mean, I'm assuming I don't know if it was there in '82. That's something you could ask them. But if he put it anywhere, and since we're going to see a letter, I think we're there. I think it's going to be close to that historical society, and visiting that museum was part of him being playful, because that's the letter that we actually have to write. Um, and that's it. I think that's the whole solve to this one is the just being Columbus and having fun with it. Um, yeah, this was the hardest one for me to figure out for some reason, and it should have been the easiest because everybody should know Columbus, and all of these puzzles are like that. They're just basic history that we all learned in the fifth grade, and or should have learned. I didn't do such a great job at it, but but I knew enough to kind of remember, um, the basic, like 1492 and things like that to get me to start looking at it. And then when you look at it and read more, you start reading the letters and you're like, oh, well, he landed on an island made of copper, basically. And he talked about birch trees or whatever. Did he send us to the Mitchell domes and then we're supposed to see new foliage, landed on different islands? I don't know. I don't know what Byron or how he did this in a playful way, but that's the way you have to do it. You just have to try to be playful and figure out how to be Columbus and just do a very Columbus thing and discover or try to find a passage. And that's it. So, but I will leave y'all with that. I'll keep this one short. And in a few days, I'm going to try to make one that what I'm doing now for all of them. I'm going to show all of the tales simply told in all of them, and hopefully that helps somebody in the future. But that's it. So you guys take care, and I will shall talk to y'all later.